And the idea is, how do we bring together these different approaches, encouraging green innovation, facilitating green company expansions, building the green value chain, creating a pro-green regulatory climate, having the right kind of workforce, promoting our region, having building efficiency, community resources, renewable energy use, cleaner transportation options, et cetera, bringing all of these different things together, bringing together the human capital, the financial capital, the educational institutions, the businesses, the government, the regulatory approach, all to move forward on having environmental and economic benefits. And this is not easy. This is not easy at all, but I think we have to have the high aspiration and try to address these things together.
This is a humongous bill. To give you some context on this, the Lieberman-Warner bill, when it passed out of committee 2 years ago, had about 95 regulations and mandates total in it. When Boxer did her markup of it and introduced her amendment that eventually failed on the floor, that thing had 350, and that was a nasty looking chart to begin with, and we did one then too. And this thing has 1,500. So what I try to explain to people is, this is not just a cap and trade bill. This is a cap and trade makes up 400 or 500 pages of the 1,500. It's really cap and trade and a whole lot of other stuff. And the problem with a whole lot of other stuff is that you give people who might be on the fence, a lot of reasons not to like all of that other stuff. And it was just a matter of time before they all read it and found things they didn't like.
At the University of Missouri, we are real significant believers in what Anita said. Energy efficiency is cost reduction, it's profit improvement, it's jobs retention, and it's economic development. Up to just a very short period of time ago, energy efficiency was a feel-good type thing. It isn't feel-good, it keeps the economy moving and will. The major utilities have committed a significant amount of their budgets their developmental budgets over the next few years to focus on energy efficiency. And if I remember the numbers right, they're looking at up to 30% of the total load demand in the future over the next few years to be covered, the growth, as well as the existing, to be covered by energy efficiency. And we have no doubt at the University of Missouri that is very attainable. 20 years ago, MU started an energy management program in the facilities management activity. The baseline, approximately the late 1980s, we are currently using 12% less energy per square foot than we did back then, which equates to, look at that, $4.3 million, and we produce our own energy. We're not paying retail prices on a day-to-day basis. And you look at that 12%, and then you stop and think. My oldest son started college in '89. He didn't have anywhere near the electric or electronic gizmos that all of our students have today. And then when you look at the fact that MU has grown by 30% in the square footage of facilities over the last 20 years, and our research expenditures just within the last 4 years have gone up 25%, and we do a significant amount of high-end research, which means we are consuming an awful lot of energy, electric, electronic, gadgetry, equipment to do our research. So when you look at that total picture of the amount of energy that we could be using today if we hadn't started this energy efficiency program versus what we are doing, and then stop and do the math real quick, $4.3 million, and we have approximately, 30,000 students on the campus. How much is that saving per student in the cost of their college education per year. Sure wish somebody would have been doing that when I was back on the campus in the 60s, right?
It's news to me that I've been on vacation for the last 8 years, and now I'm about to start working again, and I know it's news to some of you too, but I think it is true that things are going to be very different under this administration. We're going to be changing what we do, and I think in a lot of ways we're going to be changing how we do it. We are fairly early on in the new administration. Cynthia Giles just took office on June 8th. We do not have a new regional administrator yet. The various other political appointees in the offices of air and water and places like that and headquarters have just taken the reins. So we don't have a lot of specifics on new programmatic directions yet. But I think there are some pretty clear indicators so far that I can point to about direction, and I'm going to try and share those with you here in the next few minutes. The new administrator, Lisa Jackson, visited our regional office last month, and in her remarks to everyone, she enunciated 3 principles that are going to be our touchstone, our guiding values for everything we do as an agency under her tenure. And they are decisions based on sound science, follow the rule of law, and transparency in all that we do. For enforcement, what those principles mean, I think sound science means we're going to be focusing on the biggest environmental problems. We're going to be spending more resources on targeting and making sure that we're smart about where we're doing enforcement. Rule of law obviously means respecting court decisions and writing clear rules, and I think one obvious place is where the administration has moved to finally address what the Supreme Court told us we should do in Massachusetts versus EPA. That we didn't do for several years. But it also means more directly on enforcement. The administrator has said very clearly that if you're in violation of the law, you should expect consequences. Follow the rule of law means just that. It's clear and simple. And then in transparency and informed citizenry, the administrator said, is our greatest ally in building support and pressure for enforcement. So I think one of the things the agency is going to be doing is making very clear information available to the public about environmental performance and environmental problems.